Her brother vanished with a dangerous man's money, leaving behind a debt she could never repay. When Marcus Blackwell took her 6-year-old niece as collateral, Eleanor lost all hope. Then a mysterious stranger with his own score to settle offered her a desperate bargain that would change everything.
The Arizona sun blazed mercilessly over the parched landscape as Eleanor Whitmore clutched the letter in her trembling hands.
The words blurred through her tears, but she had read them enough times to memorize every threatening syllable. Her brother Thomas had borrowed $3,000 from Marcus Blackwell before riding off to California, leaving behind nothing but empty promises and a debt that now fell upon her shoulders. $3,000 might as well have been $3 million. Eleanor had exactly $47 hidden beneath the floorboards of her modest cabin, and her small herd of cattle would barely fetch half what Blackwell demanded. She looked across the dusty yard to where her niece played with a corn-husk doll, blonde curls bouncing as she made the toy dance across the porch railing. Sarah was only 6 years old. She had been left in Eleanor's care when Thomas disappeared 2 winters ago, and Eleanor loved her as fiercely as if the child had been born from her own body. The thought of losing her was unthinkable. The thunder of hooves drew her attention to the horizon. 3 riders approached, kicking up clouds of red dust that hung in the still air like omens of destruction. Eleanor recognized the lead rider immediately. Marcus Blackwell sat tall in his saddle, his silver hair gleaming beneath his black hat, his face as weathered and hard as the land he claimed to own. She stepped off the porch and positioned herself between the approaching men and her niece. Her father's rifle leaned against the doorframe inside, but she knew better than to reach for it. Blackwell traveled with armed men who would cut her down before she could chamber a round. The riders stopped 10 feet from where she stood. Blackwell dismounted with the ease of a man half his 60 years and removed his hat, pressing it against his chest in a mockery of courtesy. "Miss Whitmore," he said, his voice smooth as snake oil, "I trust you received my correspondence." "I received it." Eleanor kept her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her stomach. "I need more time. The cattle won't be ready for market until fall." Blackwell shook his head slowly, almost sadly. "Your brother said something similar before he vanished with my money. Time," he said, "just give me time. I have learned that time is a luxury I can no longer extend to the Whitmore family. I am not my brother." Eleanor's hands clenched at her sides. "I have never broken a promise in my life. Give me until October. I will pay every cent." "October." Blackwell repeated the word as if tasting something sour. "That is 5 months away, Miss Whitmore. 5 months of uncertainty. 5 months of wondering if you too will disappear in the night." He glanced past her to where Sarah had stopped playing, the child's blue eyes wide with fear. "No, I require collateral." The blood drained from Eleanor's face. "I have nothing else. The cattle, the land, the child." The word struck her like a physical blow. Eleanor stepped backward, her body instinctively moving to shield Sarah from view. "Absolutely not. She will be well cared for," Blackwell continued, his tone maddeningly reasonable. "I have a fine home in Tucson. She will have tutors, proper clothing, 3 meals a day. When you deliver the full payment, she will be returned to you unharmed. You cannot take her. She is not property to be held against a debt." Blackwell's expression hardened. The mask of civility slipped, revealing the predator beneath. "Your brother signed a contract that bound his family's assets as security. The child is his daughter. She is, legally speaking, exactly what you claim she is not." He gestured to one of his men who produced a folded document. "Judge Harrison has already reviewed the matter. I have full authority to take custody of the girl until the debt is satisfied." Eleanor snatched the paper from the rider's hand and scanned it desperately, searching for some flaw, some escape. But the words were clear, stamped with the official seal of the territorial court. Thomas had signed away his daughter's freedom along with his honor. "Aunt Ellie?" Sarah's small voice called from the porch. "Who are those men?" Eleanor closed her eyes. In that moment she understood what true helplessness felt like. She could fight and they would take Sarah anyway, perhaps roughly, traumatically. She could comply and pray that her niece would not be harmed, that 5 months would somehow yield $3,000, that the universe would bend toward mercy for once in her desperate life. "Come here, sweetheart." Eleanor's voice cracked, despite her efforts to control it. She knelt as Sarah ran to her and pulled the child into a fierce embrace. "You need to go with these men for a little while." "Why?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I want to stay with you." "I know, baby. I know." Eleanor kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her golden hair. "But Aunt Ellie needs to do some work, and when I am finished, I will come get you. I promise. Do you understand?" Sarah nodded, though her lower lip trembled. Eleanor straightened and faced Blackwell with all the dignity she could summon. "If any harm comes to her, save your threats." Blackwell lifted Sarah into his arms with surprising gentleness, and Eleanor's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. "Bring me my money, Miss Whitmore. That is all you need concern yourself with." They rode away with Sarah's cries echoing across the desert, and Eleanor fell to her knees in the dust, sobbing until no tears remained. 3 weeks passed. Eleanor sold her cattle at a loss, took work mending clothes for the women in town, and still her savings barely touched the mountain of debt before her. She began to lose hope. That was when Jackson Cole rode onto her property. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair that curled beneath the brim of his worn hat and eyes the color of strong coffee. His clothes were dusty from travel, and a week's worth of stubble shadowed his jaw. He looked exactly like the kind of drifter her mother had warned her about. Dangerous, unpredictable, rootless. "Ma'am." He touched the brim of his hat. "I'm looking for Thomas Whitmore. You in half the territory." Eleanor did not rise from where she sat on the porch, mending a torn shirt. "He is not here. I can see that." The stranger dismounted and approached slowly, his hands visible and empty. "My name is Jackson Cole. Thomas owes me money. Different money from what he owes Blackwell before you ask." Eleanor laughed bitterly. "Then you have wasted a trip. There is no money. There is nothing left." Jackson studied her for a long moment. "I heard in town that Blackwell took something more valuable than money from you." Her fingers stilled on the needle. "What business is that of yours?" "None." He shrugged. "But I have history with Marcus Blackwell. He ruined my family 15 years ago. Took our ranch, drove my father to an early grave, scattered my brothers across the frontier." He paused. "I have. You've been waiting a long time for an opportunity to make him pay." Eleanor set down her mending and truly looked at this stranger for the first time. She saw the pain beneath the rough exterior, the determination burning in his eyes. She saw a man who understood loss. "What are you proposing?" she asked carefully. "I have skills that might prove useful. I know Blackwell's operation, his weaknesses, the layout of his property." Jackson settled onto the porch step, maintaining a respectful distance. "Help me get close to him, and I will help you get your niece back."
"And my brother's debt." "Forget the debt. Take Sarah and disappear. I know people in Oregon who would shelter you, give you a fresh start."
Blackwell's reach does not extend that far. It was madness. It was also the only hope she had been offered in weeks. "Why should I trust you?" Eleanor demanded. "You rode in here as a stranger. You admitted Thomas owes you money. For all I know, you work for Blackwell." Jackson reached into his vest and withdrew a small photograph, faded and creased from years of handling. He handed it to her without a word. Eleanor examined the image. A woman and 2 young boys stood before a modest farmhouse, their faces frozen in sepia-toned happiness. The woman bore a striking resemblance to Jackson. "My mother and brothers," he said quietly. "That photograph was taken 6 months before Blackwell destroyed everything. I carry it to remind myself why I keep going." He met her gaze steadily. "I am not asking you to trust me blindly. I am asking you to take a chance because you have no other options." She should have sent him away. Instead, she found herself nodding. The weeks that followed transformed Eleanor's life in ways she never anticipated. Jackson proved to be a man of his word, working tirelessly to gather information and plan Sarah's rescue. He also proved to be patient, and unexpectedly gentle. He repaired the fence she had neglected, brought water from the well without being asked, and somehow made the lonely cabin feel less empty. They talked late into the night, sharing stories and sorrows. Eleanor told him about losing her parents to fever, about raising Sarah, about the dreams she had abandoned when responsibility claimed her youth. Jackson spoke of the ranch he hoped to rebuild someday, of the brothers he had lost track of the guilt he carried for being away when Blackwell came for his family. She could not pinpoint the moment she began to love him. Perhaps it was gradual, like the shifting of seasons. Perhaps it had happened all at once, like a match striking in darkness. She only knew that when he looked at her, she felt seen for the first time in years. One evening, as the sun painted the desert in shades of gold and crimson, Jackson took her hand. "When this is over," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "come with me. You and Sarah. We will build something new, something Blackwell cannot touch. You barely know me. I know enough." He lifted her hand to his lips. "I know you are brave and stubborn and loyal. I know you love that little girl enough to fight the devil himself. I know that I have been alone for a very long time, and when I am with you, I do not feel alone anymore." Eleanor's heart hammered against her ribs. "Jackson," he kissed her. It was gentle at first, questioning, giving her every opportunity to pull away. She did not. Instead, she wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him back with all the longing she had suppressed for years. The rescue came on a moonless night. Jackson had mapped every inch of Blackwell's estate. He knew which guards patrolled and when, which doors were left unlocked, which windows opened from the outside. Eleanor followed him through the darkness, her heart pounding with fear and determination. They found Sarah in a small room on the second floor, sleeping fitfully in a narrow bed. Eleanor gathered the child into her arms, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair, weeping silent tears of relief. But as they descended the servants' stairs, a lamp flared to life. Marcus Blackwell stood in the doorway, a pistol in his hand. "I wondered when you would come." His voice held no surprise. "Jackson Cole, I remember your father," he begged. "In the end, let them go." Jackson stepped in front of Eleanor and Sarah. "This is between us. No, this is about debts, about honor, about the natural order of things." Blackwell raised the pistol. "Your father understood. Some people are meant to rule and others are meant to serve. The Whitmores, the Coles, you will always be beneath me." Jackson moved faster than Eleanor thought possible. He lunged at Blackwell, deflecting the pistol just as it discharged. The shot went wide, shattering a window. The two men grappled, crashing into furniture, their struggle fierce and desperate. Eleanor ran with Sarah in her arms, bursting through the front door into the cool night air. Behind her, she heard shouting, the sounds of violence, then a single gunshot that stopped her heart. Silence. She clutched Sarah close, unable to breathe, unable to move. Then Jackson emerged from the house, bruised and bleeding but alive. Blackwell did not follow. "It is over," Jackson said, and Eleanor collapsed against him, sobbing with relief. They married that autumn in Oregon, beneath a canopy of golden leaves. Sarah served as flower girl, scattering petals with gleeful abandon, the trauma of her captivity fading with each passing day. The small community welcomed them warmly, asking no questions about their past. Jackson built a new ranch, modest but full of promise. Eleanor planted a garden and discovered a talent for growing things she never knew she possessed. Sarah thrived, her laughter filling the homestead with joy. On their first anniversary, Jackson gave Eleanor the photograph of his mother and brothers, now framed and protected. "You gave me a reason to stop running," he told her. "You gave me a family again." Eleanor kissed him softly. "You saved Sarah. You saved me. We saved each other. And in that simple truth, Eleanor found peace. The debt that had threatened to destroy her had instead led her to love, to healing, to a future brighter than any she had dared imagine. She had learned that even the darkest circumstances could birth unexpected blessings, that courage and hope could conquer the cruelest trials. The past was behind them, the frontier stretched endless before them, and together they would face whatever came next.